So I was on the phone with my daughter's mom the other day, right? She was like, yeah, I want you to be more involved in your daughter's life. But my daughter is 14 now, right? And I told her, like, I don't think that would be a good idea, basically, right? And she was like, why? And I was like, because you want me to accept the responsibility without the authority. You know what I'm saying? Like, you've already alienated me from her life for all of these years. You raised her however you wanted to raise her. And now you think I can just walk back into her life and tell her what to do and pretend to be father. No, what you want me to do is come back into her life, extend all of the resources that I had to pull myself up by my bootstraps to acquire, right? And because it's all about having fun. It's all about the delusion. You see, being a father in modern day society is not about structure and discipline, the things that a father actually provides. They want you to just be like somebody who provides a fun experience. Being a father is saying, no, you cannot do this. No, you cannot do that. Structure, discipline. They don't want any of that. They just want you to finance the fun. So I told her, like, basically, no, I'm not going to do that, because why would I accept the responsibility without the authority? What you want me to do is now she's getting older, right? The tax money drying up, the government assistance money drying up. Now you want me to come play daddy. You see, let me talk to you young dudes, right? In a situation like this, it's best at this point to wait for your child to become an adult and then explain the story to them if they want to hear it. And if they don't, you don't have to have a relationship with them. And this is a harsh truth that you have to understand, because the child that she's raised, right, does not have any of my values, okay? The child that she's raised has to prove that she can be trusted even being in my life. Because listen to me, strangers won't only bring you down. Your children will also bring you down from the resentment that they have in their heart, especially if they don't understand the truth and they don't understand a real story of why you wasn't involved in their life, okay? So let me tell you, young dudes, something with these women. When they kick you out of that child's life, or when they growing up so they can collect that tax money and get that government assistance, and then once the child is almost 18, they want to come, you know, because the child is eventually going to start misbehaving. They're going to try to pawn the child off on you. You don't accept that responsibility. Because, listen, understand, just because that's your blood don't mean that that's your child, okay? And this going to go over a lot of you dudes' head because this is a harsh truth, okay? A lot of these fathers might accept the child back into life, then the child can cause all types of problems, run back to the mother because you want to instill discipline and say, oh, that's really who they was. At this point, it's always best to let the child become an adult and then have their own personal adult experience with you, because you cannot re-raise a child.
Shout out to the content creator, man. He dropped a whole load of information. Man, that's deep, man. Number one, like I said, shout out to him. But man, I hate that, you know, any man, any father is separate from their child. That's first and foremost. Let me say this. I don't have kids yet, but my sister has kids. I'm around a lot of kids. I've been around a lot of kids. I've been a kid, and I can definitely understand the sentiment of it. I just never been in the situation he been in, right? I think a lot of us can still relate when it comes to understanding this, because a lot of us was raised in households that it was separate. We seen, you know, the relationship dynamic of a broken home, a separated, you know, family. And, you know, some of y'all may go spend time with your dad and mom, vice versa, but it never was together. So I think a lot of people can relate to what he's saying as far as, you know, being in that situation. Now, he had really like three major points, right? And I think the first one is, you know, that he was saying basically being that the child was with the mom at a certain age, you know, quote unquote, when the money started drying up, when it comes to, you know, government assistance, maybe child support, whatever funds they was getting. He's saying when the funds start drying up, that's when the woman wants to pawn the child off, but just for fun, right? Just to give experiences and stuff like that. Versus he's saying, hey, you know, I can't really do anything with the child at this point because they weren't raised. The values that I was raised weren't instilled with them, right? And I just can't be the fun dad because if they're with me and I'm protecting them, they're under my covenant, no matter what kind of time, I have to be able to instill discipline. That way I know I can protect them. You follow me? So with that, I don't disagree at all, but here's what I say. Along the way, it should have been, see, this is why it's tough, man, when it's two separate households and, you trying to, both parents trying to work the thing through and y'all not on the same page, man. It's tough because you still want to do right by the child, but it's hard when you don't have them really at all. And then don't let another man be around who not on the same, at least values as you, and they instilling, they values in the child, or they is no man at all. You know what I mean? So I totally understand what he's saying when he like, oh, you just want me to be the fun dad now, but I can't do that because solely I can't do that because I need to be able to be the actual dad, the father, which comes with me saying no, which comes with me instilling discipline and having that authority over the child. You follow me? No matter how long I'm with them. But if that hasn't been what was instilled, then it's going to defeat the purpose, right? So that's point number one. Point number two, right? I don't agree with him when he's saying, with point number one, that you might as well wait and not be in a child's life. I don't agree with that. I understand that you can't discipline them how you want to discipline them, raise them how you want to raise them, right? But there's still, you can still create moments of value, moments of a teaching, and still have that connection with that child. Versus saying, oh, you ain't gonna let me have my way either, then I don't want anything to do with the child. You follow me? That's what I don't agree with. I just think, man, you got to work through it. And it's very easy said and done. Like I said, I don't have kids. I've never been in this situation, but I'm just thinking about it now. Listen, are there one-off situations where you like, I literally had to wash my hands with the situation? I think so. Right. But again, that's not the majority. That's the minority situations. I think that you can have a productive relationship. I think that when you get the child with you, I think that depending on the age, I think he said the child was 14 or 16 or something like that. I think that they can comprehend. And if you walk, I think, again, you have to plant the seeds. A lot of times children, when they're younger, they're not going to understand. I absolutely agree with that until later when they become an adult and they can, reflect back like, dang, this situation was crazy. But man, along the way, my dad was telling me XYZ was going on. This is why. At the time as a child, I may not have understood, but because I was told that seed was planted, it got a chance to, be matured and grow. Now I understand and love my daddy even more. But if you're not with that child, you don't get an opportunity because you quote unquote wash your hands, or you just wanted to quote unquote build a relationship with them in their adult life. It's like you miss so much opportunity to find out who that child is. That way, when they go into adulthood, it's even easier to have that connection and that relationship with them. You follow me? So I totally disagree with just Xing yourself out of the child's life until they quote unquote an adult. Right? Now, on the point three, what he was saying was closer to the end about, oh, I just want to, I guess, what he said, don't let that go over a lot of men's head about, not having the ability to, because you didn't have the ability to raise that child with, your values and stuff. And now let's just focus on adulthood. Again, those point one and two, they connect with point three, which is it may be too late, right? When they get in adulthood, because they may say, you know what, man, you didn't even try to build a relationship with me when I was a child. I needed you, daddy. You'll hear that a lot of times, even for kids, like, dang, man, where you was at when I had this, recital? Where was you at when I had this sports activity going on? I just needed you to be there, right? Because what's going to happen is they like, man, you know what? You wasn't there at none of these times. Why do you want to show up now? Now that I'm older, you know what I do understand is, hey, you and mom didn't have that relationship, but you didn't even try. You follow me? You didn't even try to be there So now that I'm older and I understand that, hey, my mama wasn't totally right what she was saying about you. But you now, I don't even know who you are, right? I just know you as somebody who basically seeded my mother to create me as into this life. But I have no relationship with you. I don't know what you like. I don't know anything about you. So at this point, I don't even want to quote unquote build a relationship. And even with this, let's say they even try to build a relationship. It's gonna be so much distance. It may even be harder to build a relationship because now life is in the way, right? When you're adults, maybe they may have their own family now, right? Maybe they have moved out of state and you like, dang, I missed the opportunity. I can't drive out of state to see them. Yeah, we have phones and stuff, but it's different from when you face to face with somebody. But when that child's a child, they probably in close proximity to you, where you can have them on a weekend, you can have them for a week, you can have them on spring break, you can have them some time in the summer, right? You can show up for birthdays, right? You can show up for any extra activities they have going on, extracurricular activities they have going on. Maybe they playing sports, maybe they in the choir, maybe they in band, maybe they're doing some type of recital. You can still show up for those things, even though you quote unquote don't have that authority right there. You follow me? And again, I just don't agree with just be Xing out of their life totally. I don't agree with that. Because even if that child give you pushback, like I think one thing he said was when you try to discipline them and they get mad and they go back to mom like, oh, he ain't this and that. That's fine. That comes with it. Because right, you're not in there every day to be consistent and to show them and to be able to explain and be able to really articulate, hey, this is why I'm telling you no. This is why I'm giving you discipline, right? This is why you just can't do what you want to do. And this is why you can't try to handle me as a man, as your father, if you were in a home. You follow me? And even when they're with you and you try to instill those things, yeah, you may get some pushback, but I'm telling you, later in life, they're going to understand it. Everybody go through that aha moment. Now, are there some one-offs who get older, but they never grow up? Sure. But a lot of times, man, when people get older, they get a chance to really reflect. It kind of comes full circle, right? And everybody kind of had that reflection point where they're like, dang, you know what? Man, my daddy really ain't that bad of a guy like my mother said, or vice versa. Or, hey, my mother isn't as bad as my father said. You follow me? Because, they're going to look back and say, hey, this person was showing up for me. Maybe I ain't like it, however their approach was when I was younger. But now that I'm older, I understand what they were trying to do. And you have a better potential for building even a stronger relationship now that they're older and an adult and they want you in their life. You follow me? But if you X them out, you're going to miss that opportunity. So that's my take. But again, I think he said a lot of stuff that is true, but I think that wouldn't be my approach, right? When it comes to, because I don't have full access to give authority and discipline as a child, as a father, then I got to step back to they get into adulthood. I don't agree with that, right? I think there's ways to work through it. And again, hopefully you don't even have to go through it. You know what I mean? Before you, as a man, hopefully you vet right. That's number one. And you pick the right ones who gonna stick through hard times when y'all having a relationship and then a child gets involved. That's number one. But things happen, right? I'm not here to judge, but things happen. But hopefully you as a man, you vet first, so you not ending up in this situation like he talking about. That's number one. But sometimes that's how the cookie crumbles, as they say. But man, hopefully I got a lot of value from the video. If you did, hit the like button, subscribe, and man, share this video out because this is very powerful. I'm sure somebody needs to hear his perspective, because somebody's gonna agree with it. But also I think many people are gonna agree with my perception as well, perspective. And with that being said, I really appreciate y'all. Much love. Peace.